Here's an amazing statistic that I got from Vox. By January 2020, if all of Trump's proposed policies stay in place, he will have turned 400,000 previously legal residents of the United States into illegal residents. 400,000 people who were previously protected, just living their lives here in America, now desperately trying to stay in America, because for many of them, their lives sort of depend on it. And a big chunk of those 400,000 now without protections was created on Friday when the Trump administration announced that many Honduran-Americans who have lived here for nearly 20 years will lose their protected status. Nearly 90,000 Hondurans who have lived in the U.S. at least 2 decades could be forced to leave the country after the Trump administration decided Friday to end protections for the immigrants that go back to the 1990s. The Homeland Security Department's announcement Friday ends the temporary protected status designation for Hondurans that was put in place after Hurricane Mitch struck in 1998. There are about 86,000 current recipients, according to USCIS's count at the end of October, and all of them must have lived in the U.S. continuously since at least 1999. They will have 18 months to either leave the country or make other arrangements to stay if they can qualify for visas some other way. The Trump administration has opted to end almost all of the temporary protected status designations on the books this year, including those for nearly 60,000 immigrants from Haiti, more than 250,000 from El Salvador, about 5,000 from Nicaragua, and nearly 15,000 from Nepal. The Central American countries have had their temporary protected status extended by previous administrations continuously since the 1990s and early 2000s. So that's through Bush, through Clinton, through Obama, through all those administrations with varying perspectives on the world and philosophies. But they didn't want to kick these people out of America who have built their lives here. They wouldn't be that inhumane, but Trump is that inhumane. And as CNN reports, the deadline to extend or terminate the protected status of over 1,000 Yemenis is coming up in July. What do you think the Trump administration is going to do as it continues to aid the Saudi-led brutality in Yemen with bipartisan support, by the way? Do you think they'll suddenly become benevolent and Christ-like, or will they send the Yemenis living here back to the country that we are currently destroying with our funds and resources and making it unlivable? Yeah, I think we know the answer. The Trump administration is doing so because it claims that Honduras has recovered enough from a 1998 hurricane to be safe to return to. The fact that right now Honduras is a place people are trying to flee due to systemic gang violence and civil unrest isn't an argument in TPS holders' favor to this administration. If anything, it's another strike against them. Nearly a quarter of Hondurans with TPS were younger than 15 when they came to the U.S., meaning they've spent more of their lives here than there. And an estimated 53,000 U.S.-born kids had at least one parent who benefits from Honduras's TPS designation. The administration's case relies on a straightforward but narrow reading of the law that created TPS. To them, the conditions that justified TPS for Honduras were the 1998 hurricane. Honduras has recovered from the 1998 hurricane. Therefore, TPS needs to end. That's what they're arguing. So because they have recovered from the hurricane, now, time to send the people back to the country where they came from, despite the fact that they have been settled in the United States here for nearly 2 decades at this point. They are purposefully narrowly reading the law so that they can continue to scapegoat people who look differently and send back tens of thousands of individuals to a country that they may no longer have many roots in, or any roots in, ripping up families with zero policy justification except for drumming up support with your base. Honduras has one of the highest homicide rates in the world due to gang violence, but since that wasn't the specific humanitarian crisis that they were given the status for 2 decades ago, the Trump administration has decided to send them back to that humanitarian crisis that's going on now. Tens of thousands of people, of Honduran-Americans. Just think about it. By the way, how many people decided Trump's election? Oh, right. 80,000 people. In Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, in those swing states, they made the difference. That's how close these things can be, these elections can be. And by Pew's estimates, nearly 800,000 people of Honduran descent are living in the United States these days. Those are from 2013 figures. So, do you think they may have something to say at the voting booth when Trump kicked out about 90,000 Hondurans who have done nothing wrong? I think they might. And look at this. 4 of the 9 largest Honduran-American population groups are in states that are going to be key in 2018 and 2020. Texas, Virginia, and Florida. Yeah, this kind of racist cruelty might drum up your base of white nationalists, Donald Trump, but it's a double-edged sword. It might actually also drum up the people who see their family and friends being deported by your arbitrary, mean-spirited policies. As the great MLK said, to paraphrase a bit, the arc of history always bends towards justice. No amount of demagoguery can slow that progress. You can stymie it momentarily and you can puff up your racist, ugly orange chest, but you will be on the wrong side of history. And you and your name will be spoken of with immense disgust in history books to come.